Without a babysitter, the single mother asked the garbage man for help and was shocked by what he did. Jennifer Davis looked at her cell phone clock for the 10th time in 5 minutes, while the desperate crying of Noah, her 6-month-old baby, echoed through the apartment. The most important presentation of her career would happen in less than an hour, and she was completely alone with the child who hadn't stopped crying since dawn. The babysitter had called the night before, cancelling because her own daughter had a high fever. Jennifer tried to contact other babysitters on her emergency list, but they were all busy or couldn't help at the last minute. Desperate, she picked up Noah and ran to the window, hoping to find some familiar neighbor on the street who could help. That's when she saw the garbage truck stopped in front of the building. A strong, calm-looking black man, wearing the green uniform of the city sanitation company, was collecting the residents' trash bags. Without thinking twice, Jennifer ran down the stairs with Noah in her arms, still in her pajamas under her robe. "Please," she shouted, running toward the man. "Sir, can you help me?" Michael Johnson turned around, surprised to hear the shouts. At 35, he was used to all kinds of situations during his work, but he had never seen a desperate woman running after him with a baby in her arms. "Calm down, ma'am. What happened?" he asked, dropping the trash bag he was carrying. "I really need your help. I know it will sound crazy, but I have a very important meeting in 40 minutes, and my babysitter cancelled. I have no one else. Could you watch my son for 2 hours? I'll pay whatever it takes." Michael Johnson was speechless. He had never faced a situation like that. He looked at Noah, who was still crying, and then at Jennifer, who was clearly desperate. "Ma'am, I don't know if I can do this. I'm working. I have my route to complete." "Please," insisted Jennifer with tears in her eyes. "I know it seems strange, but I have no other options. My ex-husband is traveling. My mother passed away last year, and I don't know the neighbors well. This meeting could change my professional life. I beg you." Michael Johnson looked around, seeing some neighbors starting to watch the scene from their windows. He felt the weight of responsibility, but he was also touched by the genuine desperation of that woman. "Listen, I have experience with children. I have a son his age back in Louisiana. But this is very irregular. 2 hours. Just 2 hours. I'll come running back as soon as the meeting is over. Please." Noah, who had been crying non-stop, suddenly calmed down when Michael Johnson reached out his arms toward him. It was as if the child had sensed a calming energy coming from that man. "Look at that," murmured Michael Johnson, impressed. He stopped crying. Jennifer couldn't believe what she saw. Noah, who had been restless all night, was now relaxed in the arms of a complete stranger. "It's a sign," she said. "Please accept. I'll leave you my phone, my address, anything you need." Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us who are just starting out. Now continuing. Michael Johnson thought of his own son, Junior, whom he had left in Louisiana with his wife Keisha while he worked in New York City to save money. He missed the child terribly, who was the same age as Noah. "All right," he said finally, "but with a few conditions. First, I need to notify my boss. Second, you leave me all your contact information and details. And third, I don't want any money for this." "What do you mean you don't want money?" asked Jennifer, surprised. "Because this isn't a job. It's one person helping another. Sometimes life puts these situations in our path for a reason." Jennifer Davis was moved by the response. She quickly wrote down all his information on a piece of paper, explained Noah's needs, and rushed to get ready. In 15 minutes, she was ready, wearing her best suit and carrying the briefcase with the presentation documents. "Thank you," she shouted from the taxi window. "I'll be back in 2 hours." Michael Johnson stood there, holding Noah, who slept peacefully in his arms. Some co-workers passing by were surprised by the scene. "Michael, what's going on there, man?" asked Tyrone, another sanitation worker who worked the same route. "Long story, Tyrone. The child's mother had an emergency and asked for help. The boy was crying a lot, and when I picked him up, he calmed down right away." "Man, you've always had this gift with children. I remember when you used to take care of your nephews back in Louisiana." It was true, Michael Johnson had always been good with children. Before coming to New York City, He had worked as a monitor at a community daycare in his hometown. He loved that job, but the salary wasn't enough to support his family. As he walked down the street with Noah in his arms, Michael Johnson began to softly sing a lullaby he used to sing to Junior. The child slept soundly, and he felt a peace he hadn't experienced in months. From the window of a second-floor apartment, Mrs. Jenkins, a 70-year-old woman who lived alone, watched everything with curiosity. She had witnessed the whole scene and was impressed with the natural way the man cared for the child. Mrs. Jenkins came down and discreetly approached. "Sorry to bother you, sir. I saw the situation here and got worried. Is everything all right?" "Yes, ma'am. The baby's mother had an emergency and asked for my help. He's sleeping just fine." "How beautiful," said Mrs. Jenkins. "So rare to see someone help like that these days. Do you have children?" "Yes, I do." "Yes. A little boy his age back in Louisiana. I came to New York City to work and save money to bring my family here." "What a beautiful story. I can see you understand children. Look how peacefully he's sleeping." Meanwhile, in the city center, Jennifer Davis tried to focus on the most important presentation of her career. She worked as a marketing coordinator at a mid-sized company and had developed an innovative project that could lead to a significant promotion. However, her mind was divided between the presentation numbers and her worry for Noah. It was the first time she had left her son with a complete stranger, but something about Michael Johnson's personality had put her at ease. The presentation began, and Jennifer did her best, but she realized she couldn't concentrate fully. The company directors asked questions, and she answered automatically, but her heart was tight with worry. Back in the neighborhood, Michael Johnson had found a small park near Jennifer's building and sat on a bench in the shade. Noah continued sleeping, and he took the opportunity to call Keisha. "Hi, my love. How's Junior?" "Hi, Michael. He's fine, playing here in the yard. And you? How's work?" "Work is normal, but something interesting happened today. A desperate mother asked me to watch her baby for a few hours. She had an important meeting, and the nanny cancelled at the last minute." "Oh my God, and you accepted?" "I did, Keisha. The boy is the same age as our Junior. When I picked him up, he stopped crying right away. It reminded me so much of our son." "Oh, Michael. Be careful. People might get the wrong idea." "I know, but I couldn't say no to helping." The woman was truly desperate. Keisha knew her husband's heart. "You know, he's always been a caring person who loved children. That's why I fell in love with him years ago." "All right, my love, just be careful. Give the little boy a kiss for me." When Michael Johnson hung up the phone, he noticed some people were looking at him curiously. A black man, dressed in a sanitation worker's uniform, caring for a white baby in an upscale neighborhood park. He knew that scene was drawing attention. A woman approached with a smile on her face. "How adorable. Is he your grandson?" she asked. "No, Mom. I'm watching him for his mother who had an emergency." "Oh, how nice. That's very kind of you. He's sleeping like an angel." But not all looks were approving. Michael Johnson noticed a group of people nearby whispering and pointing in his direction. He felt uncomfortable, but didn't let it show. He knew his intention was pure, and that was enough. An hour and a half had passed when Noah started getting restless. Michael Johnson realized he was hungry and would need the bottle. He went back to Jennifer Davis's building and rang the intercom for the apartment where a neighbor had offered to help if needed. "Hi, it's Michael Johnson. Do you remember Jennifer saying you could help if needed?" "Of course. Come on up, please." Mrs. Wilson, a kind 60-year-old woman, welcomed Michael Johnson warmly. She had prepared a bottle and helped feed Noah. "You're an angel," she said. "That girl was desperate this morning. How lucky to find someone like you." "I'm a father too, ma'am. I know how it is. If it were my son in her place, I'd be so grateful to find someone like you. You have a special gift with children." Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us who are just starting out. Now continuing. When Jennifer Davis finished the presentation, her first impulse was to rush back home. The meeting had gone well, but she couldn't think of anything else but Noah. She took a taxi, and the whole way she kept imagining how her son was doing. Arriving at the building, she saw Michael Johnson sitting at the entrance, with Noah sleeping peacefully in his arms. The scene moved her deeply. "How did he behave?" she asked, still breathless from running. "He was an angel, slept most of the time, woke up hungry an hour ago, and Mrs. Wilson from the 3rd floor helped with the bottle. I can't believe he was so calm. He spends whole nights crying at home. Sometimes children sense when we're calm. I sang some lullabies I sing for my son." Jennifer Davis took Noah in her arms, and he kept sleeping. It was amazing how that man's presence had calmed her son in a way she'd never been able to. "At least let me pay for your time. I know you missed work because of me." "I don't want money. I already said that. Don't worry." "Then let me do something. Give me your phone number. If you ever need anything at all, call me." Michael Johnson hesitated, but ended up giving his number. He never imagined that casual encounter would change his life so profoundly. The next day, Jennifer Davis woke up thinking about what had happened. Noah had slept through the night, something that hadn't happened in weeks. She found herself thinking about Michael Johnson and how kind and caring he'd been with her son. During breakfast, she got a call from her boss. "Jennifer, congratulations on yesterday's presentation. The directors were impressed. We want to talk about your promotion later this week." It was the news she'd been waiting for years, but her mind was elsewhere. Curious about Michael Johnson, she decided to look for him during garbage collection hours. When the truck stopped in front of the building, she went down with Noah in her arms. "Michael," she called out. He turned around, surprised to see her. "Hi, Jennifer, how is Noah?" "He's great. Slept through the night for the first time in weeks. I wanted to thank you again." "No need to thank me. How was your meeting?" "It went very well. I got the promotion I'd been trying for years to get." Michael Johnson smiled genuinely. He was happy she had achieved what she wanted so badly. "That's wonderful. I'm so happy for you. Actually, I wanted to invite you to lunch on Saturday, to celebrate, and as a way of saying thank you." Michael Johnson felt awkward. He wasn't used to invitations like this. "You don't have to do that, Jennifer. I just helped like anyone would. It's not just a thank you. It's because I want to get to know the person who took such good care of my son better." Some neighbors were watching the conversation from their windows. Jennifer noticed the curious looks but didn't mind. "All right," Michael Johnson finally said. "But let me bring something too." On Saturday, Michael Johnson arrived at Jennifer's apartment bringing a cornbread he had bought from a bakery in his neighborhood. He was nervous, as he wasn't used to visiting upper-middle-class apartments. Jennifer welcomed him warmly, and soon felt at ease with his simplicity and humility. During lunch, they talked about their lives. "Tell me about your family," Jennifer asked. "I've been married to Keisha for 8 years. We have a son, Junior, who is 6 months old, just like Noah. I left them in Louisiana to come work here and save money. It must be very hard to be away from your son. It's what hurts my heart the most, but I need to do this to give them a better life. I want to bring my family here and have our own home." "And what did you do in Louisiana?" "I worked at a community daycare. I loved that job, but it paid very little. I've always enjoyed taking care of children." Jennifer was surprised by the revelation. That explained the natural ease he had with Noah. "Do you have a degree in education?" "I have a technical degree in early childhood education. I got it from the community college there in New Orleans. I've always dreamed of having my own daycare one day." The conversation was interrupted when Noah started to cry. Jennifer tried to calm him down, but he remained fussy. Michael Johnson asked for permission and picked the child up. As if by magic, Noah calmed down immediately. "That's amazing," said Jennifer. "He only does that with you." "Children sense energy. Maybe he senses that I've taken care of many children before." "Michael, can I ask you a personal question?" "Of course. Have you ever thought about working as a nanny or caregiver here in New York City? With your experience, you could certainly get a better job." Michael Johnson laughed sadly. "Jennifer, do you think anyone would trust their children to a black man who works as a sanitation worker? People have prejudices." "But you are qualified. You have experience." "Maybe so, but unfortunately the world doesn't work that way. People judge by appearance first." Jennifer became thoughtful. She herself had a moment of hesitation when she asked for his help, but it was desperation that made her overcome any initial prejudice. On Monday, Jennifer couldn't stop thinking about the conversation with Michael Johnson. She decided to do some research on jobs for child caregivers and was surprised by the salaries being offered, much higher than what he earned as a sanitation worker. She also discovered there was a great shortage of qualified professionals in the field, especially men. She began to formulate an idea in her head. That afternoon, she went down again to talk to Michael Johnson during his collection route. "Michael, I thought a lot about what we talked about on Saturday. I have a proposal for you." "What proposal?" "How about you take care of Noah a few afternoons a week? I'll pay a fair wage and you could keep your current job until you feel secure." Michael Johnson was surprised by the offer. "Jennifer, that is very generous, but—" "It's not generosity, it's necessity. Noah clearly has a special connection with you, and I need someone trustworthy to care for him. What if people speak ill of it? The neighbors, your family? Let them talk. What matters is my son's well-being." Michael Johnson promised to think about the proposal. That night, he called Keisha and told her about the offer. "Keisha, she wants to pay me to care for her son a few afternoons a week." "Michael, are you sure this is a good idea? What if she changes her mind later and accuses you of something?" "This woman isn't like that, Keisha. She's a good person. And look, with this extra money, I could bring you here much sooner." "How much did she offer?" When Michael Johnson said the amount, Keisha almost dropped the phone. It was almost the same as what he earned as a sanitation worker for the entire month. "Oh my God, Michael, with this money we could rent a small apartment and I'd come with Junior this year." "That's exactly what I thought, but I'm afraid people will judge us poorly." "Michael Johnson, you're an honest and hard-working man. If God put this opportunity in your life, it's for a purpose." The next day, Michael Johnson sought out Jennifer Davis and accepted the proposal. They agreed that he would care for Noah 3 afternoons a week, always after finishing his shift as a sanitation worker. The news spread quickly through the building. Reactions were mixed. Some neighbors thought it was strange, others were curious, and a few were clearly prejudiced. Mrs. Thompson, a 75-year-old lady who lived on the same floor as Jennifer Davis, didn't waste time expressing her opinion. "Jennifer, dear, are you sure about what you're doing? Leaving your son with this man? This man has a name, Mrs. Thompson. It's Michael Johnson. He's a family man and has training in early childhood education. But you don't really know him, and what example are you setting for your son?" "I'm setting the example that we shouldn't judge people by their skin color or profession." The conversation became tense, but Jennifer Davis held her ground. She knew she would face prejudice, but she was willing to fight for what she believed was right. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us who are just starting out. Now continuing. The first weeks of Michael Johnson's work as Noah's caregiver were peaceful. The child developed quickly under his care, starting to smile more and sleep better at night. Michael Johnson developed a special routine with Noah. He took him for walks in the nearby park, sang the same lullabies he sang for Junior, and created educational games appropriate for the child's age. Jennifer Davis was impressed with Noah's progress. Her son was calmer, more smiley, and clearly happy in Michael Johnson's presence. One day, while Michael Johnson was pushing Noah's stroller in the park, he was approached by a woman who appeared to be about 40 years old. "Excuse me," she said. "Is this baby your son?" "No, ma'am, I'm his caregiver." The woman looked suspiciously and quickly walked away, grabbing her phone to make a call. Michael Johnson sensed something wasn't right and decided to return to Jennifer Davis's apartment. Half an hour later, the apartment doorbell rang. It was the police. "We received a report that a man was with a child in a suspicious manner in the park," said the officer. Jennifer Davis was outraged. "He's my son's caregiver. I have a signed contract and everything documented." Michael Johnson remained calm throughout the situation, but internally he was shaken. This was exactly the kind of situation he feared would happen. After clarifying the situation and showing all the documents, the police left. But the episode left deep marks. "Michael, I'm sorry about this," said Jennifer, visibly upset. "It wasn't your fault. Unfortunately, these things happen. They happen because people are prejudiced and ignorant. Jennifer, maybe it's better if I stop working for you. I don't want you and Noah to go through this kind of situation. Absolutely not. If you quit now, those people will think they were right. Jennifer was determined not to give in to prejudice. She knew Michael Johnson was a person of integrity and wouldn't allow ignorance to harm her son and her family. However, the incident reached the ears of some important people in Jennifer's life. Her ex-husband Jason called her the next day, visibly irritated. "Jennifer, what's this story about you hiring a garbage collector to take care of our son? How did you find out? The whole neighborhood is talking. My mother called me yesterday desperate." Jason had divorced Jennifer a year ago after discovering he was in love with a co-worker. The divorce was amicable, but he still felt entitled to have an opinion about Noah's upbringing. "Jason, Michael Johnson is a qualified professional. He has training in early childhood education, and Noah adores him." "Qualified? Jennifer, the man works as a garbage collector." "So what? It's honest work. Besides, he has experience with children." "Have you lost your mind? I'll request a custody review if you continue with this irresponsibility." Jason's threat shook Jennifer. She knew that, unfortunately, some judges could be influenced by prejudices when deciding on child custody. That night, Jennifer spoke with Michael Johnson about the situation. "Michael, my ex-husband is threatening to request a custody review of Noah because of you. Then maybe I should really step aside. I don't want to be the cause of problems for you." "You're not the problem. The problem is people's prejudice." "I know, Jennifer, but unfortunately it's a reality we need to face." Jennifer spent nights thinking about the situation. She didn't want to lose custody of Noah, but she also couldn't accept the idea of firing Michael Johnson because of prejudice. That's when she had an idea. She decided to hire a lawyer to verify her rights and legally protect herself from any attempt by Jason to question her capability as a mother. The attorney, Sarah Miller, was clear and direct. "Jennifer, you have every right to choose who cares for your son, as long as the person is qualified and reputable. The fact that he works as a garbage collector isn't legally relevant. And if my ex-husband tries to use this against me, we need to document everything. Employment contract, clean criminal record, professional references. If we do everything properly, there won't be a problem." Jennifer left the attorney's office more confident. She decided she wouldn't give in to prejudice and would fight for the right to keep Michael Johnson as Noah's caregiver. Meanwhile, Michael Johnson faced his own conflicts. The incident in the park had shaken his self-esteem and confidence. He called Keisha to vent about the situation. "Keisha, maybe I should give up this job. It's causing too many problems." "Michael Johnson, remember when you started working at the daycare back in New Orleans? On the first day, a mother didn't want to leave her daughter in your care because you were a man. Remember what happened after? She ended up becoming your biggest defender when she saw how well you took care of the girl." Exactly. People have prejudices, but when they see your work and dedication, they change their minds. But it's different here, Keisha. People are more prejudiced. Or maybe you're facing prejudices that always existed, but now you're in a position that exposes them more. Keisha's words made Michael Johnson reflect. Maybe she was right. Perhaps he should fight against prejudices instead of running from them. Over the weekend, Jennifer organized a special lunch. She invited Michael Johnson and some neighbors who had shown positive interest in getting to know him better. Mrs. Wilson, who had helped on the first day, was present, as well as Mrs. Jenkins, who had observed the first interaction between Michael Johnson and Noah. During lunch, Michael Johnson talked about his experience at the community daycare in Louisiana, his plans for the future, and his love for early childhood education. "It's impressive how Noah stays calm in his presence," commented Mrs. Wilson. "It's because he has real experience," said Jennifer. "Not just anyone can achieve that result with a child." "Michael, do you plan to keep working as a sanitation worker forever?" asked Mrs. Jenkins. "Actually, my dream is to open my own daycare one day, but for that I need to save money and bring my family here first." "What a beautiful dream," exclaimed Mrs. Wilson. "New York City needs more people like you working with children." The lunch was a success. The neighbors left with a completely different opinion about Michael Johnson, and they began to defend him when other people made prejudiced comments. A few weeks later, an unexpected event completely changed the building residents' perception of Michael Johnson. Mrs. Thompson, the same one who had criticized Jennifer for hiring him, fell ill on the street and fainted near the building. Michael Johnson, who was arriving to take care of Noah, was the first to help her. He put her in a safe position, called the ambulance, and stayed by her side until the paramedics arrived. When Mrs. Thompson woke up in the hospital, the first person she asked about was the young man who helped her. "He saved your life," said the nurse. "He knew exactly what to do." When Mrs. Thompson discovered that her savior had been Michael Johnson, she felt deeply ashamed of her previous prejudices. The next day she sought out Jennifer. "My dear, I came to apologize. I misjudged that young man. He is an angel." "Mrs. Thompson, Michael Johnson has always been a good person. You just needed to get to know him better. That's true, I want to do something to make up for it. I can give references for him to other families I know." And that's exactly what happened. Mrs. Thompson, who was highly respected in the neighborhood, started speaking well of Michael Johnson to all her friends. Within a few weeks, Michael Johnson received 3 job offers as a childcare provider. The combined salary would be enough for him to leave his job as a sanitation worker and dedicate himself fully to childcare. More importantly, it would be enough to bring Keisha and Junior to New York City that same year. "Michael, this is the opportunity you've been waiting for," said Jennifer when he told her about the offers. "I'm afraid to take this step. What if it doesn't work out? You have a natural talent for this, and now you have proven experience too. But leaving a steady job to work freelance. Michael, sometimes we need to have the courage to follow our dreams." After long conversations with Keisha, Michael Johnson decided to accept the offers and leave his job as a sanitation worker. It was a difficult decision, but he felt it was the right time to take that step. The transition was smoother than he imagined. The families who hired him were impressed with his professionalism and dedication. The children adapted quickly to him, and the parents began recommending him to other families. Within 3 months, Michael Johnson already had a waiting list of families wanting to hire his services. He managed to rent a small but comfortable apartment and finally brought Keisha and Junior to New York City. The family reunion was emotional. Junior, now 9 months old, was a bit wary of his father in the first few days, but they soon rekindled their previous connection. Keisha was amazed by the transformation in her husband's life. "Michael, you're a different person, more confident, happier. It's because I'm finally doing what I love, Keisha, and with dignity, earning well. And it all started with that desperate mother who asked for your help. Jennifer really did change our lives. If it weren't for her, I'd still be working as a garbage collector, and you'd still be in Louisiana." The friendship between Michael Johnson and Jennifer Davis grew even stronger. Noah, now 10 months old, had formed a very special bond not only with Michael Johnson, but also with Keisha and Junior. The 2 children played together as if they were siblings, and the 2 families became very close. One day, Jennifer had an idea that would change everything again. "Michael, have you ever thought about formalizing your work, starting a childcare company?" "What do you mean?" "You could train other caregivers, set quality standards, create a brand recognized in the market." "Jennifer, that's very ambitious. I don't know anything about business." "But I do. We could go into partnership. You would handle the educational side, and I'd take care of administration and business." The proposal was tempting, but Michael Johnson wanted to think carefully before making such an important decision. "Let me talk to Keisha. This is a decision that affects the whole family." "Of course. But think about it. You have a special talent, and New York City has a huge demand for qualified caregivers." That night, Michael Johnson talked with his wife about Jennifer's proposal. "Keisha, she wants us to start a company together. She'll contribute the money and business knowledge, and I'll contribute the childcare expertise. Michael Johnson, that woman has been a blessing in our lives. If she's offering this, it's because she believes in your potential. But it's a huge responsibility. What if it fails? What if it succeeds? Think of the other families who could benefit from well-trained caregivers like you. It could also be a way to help other qualified immigrants. Many people come to New York City with good education, but end up in jobs that don't value their skills." "Exactly. You could be the bridge for those people to have better opportunities." The conversation with Keisha helped Michael Johnson see Jennifer's proposal from a different perspective. It wasn't just a business opportunity, but a chance to make a difference in other people's lives. The next day he went to Jennifer to accept the proposal. "I accept the partnership, but on one condition." "What is it?" "I want part of our profits to go toward a training program for immigrants who want to work in childcare." Jennifer was moved by Michael Johnson's proposal. "That's exactly the kind of thinking that makes me sure I've chosen the right partner." They began planning the company. Jennifer used her contacts in the corporate world to conduct market research and better understand the demand for childcare in New York City. The numbers were impressive. There was a huge shortage of qualified professionals in the field, and families were willing to pay well for quality services. Michael Johnson began developing a training program for caregivers based on his experience in Louisiana and everything he had learned working with different families in New York City. The program included not only childcare techniques, but also communication with parents, first aid, and children's emotional development. 2 months later, the company Caring Hearts was officially launched. The first training course had 15 students, mostly immigrants from different countries who had come to New York City seeking opportunities. Among the students was Fatima, a Senegalese woman who had earned a degree in education in her country, Carlos, a Venezuelan who had been a physical education teacher, and Aisha, a Haitian woman with experience in pediatric nursing. "You are here because you have valuable qualifications and experience," said Michael Johnson in the first class. "The goal of this course is to help you adapt those skills to the U.S. market and connect you with families who value qualified professionals." The course was an absolute success. All the graduates found work within a month of completing the training, and the families who hired them were extremely satisfied. Demand for the service grew rapidly. Jennifer Davis had to hire an assistant to handle all the incoming requests. Jason, Jennifer's ex-husband, had to eat his words when he saw the company's success. He even sought out the services of Caring Hearts to hire a caregiver for Noah during the weekends when he was with him. "Jennifer, I have to admit I was wrong about Michael Johnson," he said during a conversation about dividing time with Noah. "I knew you'd come around eventually. He turned something that started as my prejudice into a brilliant business opportunity. I admire that." Michael always had that vision. He just needed an opportunity to show his potential. 6 months after opening the company, Michael Johnson and Jennifer Davis received an invitation to speak at a seminar on social entrepreneurship. "Michael, you should be the one to speak," said Jennifer. "The story is yours." "Our story, Jennifer. Without you, none of this would have happened. And without you, I'd still be a desperate mother, not knowing how to balance work and motherhood." The talk was moving. Michael Johnson told his journey from Louisiana to becoming a businessman in New York City, including the encounter that changed everything. "Sometimes opportunities come disguised as desperation," he told the audience. "The important thing is to be open to helping and being helped. And most importantly, not letting prejudices prevent us from seeing people's potential," Jennifer added. The audience was touched by the story. Several people approached after the talk to learn more about the company's work, and some even offered to invest in expanding the business. 1 year after the first meeting between Michael Johnson and Jennifer Davis, they organized a party to celebrate the company's success. All the caregivers they had trained, the client families and the neighbors who had initially reacted with prejudice were present. Mrs. Thompson, completely transformed, became one of the biggest supporters of Michael Johnson's work. "Who would have thought that on the day I misjudged this young man, he would end up saving my life," she said during her speech at the party. Noah, now a year and a half old, ran around the party among Michael Johnson, Jr., and all the other children present. It was impossible not to notice the child's happiness and confidence. Keisha approached Jennifer during the party. "Jennifer, I want to thank you for everything you've done for our family." "Keisha, Michael did it all. I just gave him an opportunity. You gave much more than that. You gave him dignity, hope, and the chance to follow his dreams. And he gave me the peace of mind of knowing my son was in the best possible hands." The party went on late into the night, with lots of jazz, Louisiana-style food that Keisha had prepared, and plenty of joy. At the end of the evening, Michael Johnson gave an emotional speech. A year ago, I was just a sanitation worker, dreaming of a better life for my family. Today, I am a businessman, my family is together, and I've managed to help many other people achieve their dreams too. All this began when a desperate mother found the courage to ask a stranger for help, and when that stranger found the courage to help. Sometimes that's what moves the world, the courage to ask for and give help. Thank you, Jennifer, for trusting me when no one else would. Thank you for seeing in me what I couldn't see myself. Jennifer was too emotional to speak. Noah slept peacefully in her arms, and she looked at Michael Johnson knowing she had made the best decision of her life. 2 years later, Caring Hearts had trained over 200 caregivers and served families throughout the New York City metropolitan area. Michael Johnson achieved his dream of opening a daycare center, but on a larger scale than he had imagined. The company opened 3 daycare units in different neighborhoods, all specialized in serving children of working families. Jennifer was promoted to marketing director at her original company, but remained an active partner at Caring Hearts. Their partnership had become a model of how different social classes and ethnicities could work together genuinely and productively. Noah and Junior grew up like brothers. At 3 years old, Noah was bilingual, speaking English and some Spanish words Jennifer taught him, but also some expressions in Louisiana Creole he had learned from Michael Johnson. One day during a routine visit to the daycare, Jennifer heard Noah explaining to a little friend, "My Uncle Michael isn't my real uncle, but he's taken care of me since I was a baby. He's the best uncle in the world." Michael Johnson, who was nearby, was moved hearing the child. To him, Noah was like a son of his heart too. The story of Michael Johnson and Jennifer became an example in several universities studying social entrepreneurship. They were invited to speak in other states, and the training methodology developed by Michael Johnson began being replicated in other cities. The qualification program for immigrants expanded to include not just childcare, but other areas like elderly care and qualified domestic support. "Michael, remember when you said that sometimes guardian angels come in disguise?" Jennifer asked during a conversation. "I remember. Why?" "I think we were both each other's guardian angels. You saved my career and my peace as a mother. I helped you achieve your dreams." "That's true. And the most beautiful part is that we managed to turn our experience into something that helps other people too." 5 years after their first meeting, Michael Johnson received a special invitation. The government of his hometown in Louisiana wanted to implement a professional qualification program based on the Caring Hearts methodology. "Keisha, what if we went back to Louisiana for a few months to implement the project there?" "That would be amazing. Junior could learn more about his roots and you could help your own community." Michael Johnson accepted the invitation, but with one condition. Jennifer and Noah would accompany them as partners on the project. "Jennifer, how about experiencing Louisiana? Noah could learn even more about American culture. That would be an incredible adventure and a way to give back everything Louisiana gave us through you." The trip to Louisiana was transformative for everyone. Noah was delighted with the beaches, the music, and especially with the house where Junior was born. Michael Johnson reunited with childhood friends, some of whom were unemployed or working in jobs that didn't value their qualifications. "Michael Johnson, you've become a businessman," said his old supervisor from the community daycare. "Actually, I just found an opportunity to use what you taught me here. And now you're bringing those opportunities back here. The circle is complete." The project in Louisiana was an absolute success. In 6 months, 150 people were qualified, and many got better jobs both locally and in other cities. Some even decided to move to New York City, where Caring Hearts helped them get settled. During their stay in Louisiana, Noah learned to build sandcastles, tried jambalaya, and developed a special love for the Southern culture. "Mommy, can I live here sometimes?" he asked one afternoon at the beach. "We can come visit whenever you want, sweetheart." "And can Uncle Michael teach me how to fish like he teaches Junior?" "Of course he can." The experience in Louisiana strengthened the bond between the two families even more. They realized they had built something much bigger than a friendship or business partnership. They had created a chosen family. Back in New York City, Caring Hearts was even stronger. The experience in Louisiana had generated a lot of positive media attention, and investors began to take an interest in the business. Michael Johnson and Jennifer Davis received an offer to sell part of the company to a large corporate group that wanted to expand the concept throughout the United States. "What do you think, Michael?" asked Jennifer. "I think it's an opportunity to impact many more lives, but I'll only accept if we maintain control over the quality of services and the social program." Exactly what I was thinking. They accepted the offer, keeping 51% of the company and using the investment money to further expand the social qualification program. In 10 years, Caring Hearts was present in 15 states and had qualified over 5,000 people for decent jobs in the care field. Michael Johnson was recognized as Social Entrepreneur of the Year by a national magazine, and Jennifer Davis received an award for the executive who contributed the most to social inclusion. But the recognition that moved them the most came from an unexpected source. Noah, now 10 years old, wrote an essay at school about the person I admire the most. He chose Michael Johnson. "I admire Uncle Michael because he taught me that it doesn't matter what job a person does, what matters is their character. He started out working as a garbage collector, but he was always a good and dedicated person. When my mom needed help, he didn't hesitate to help even though he was a stranger. Today he's a businessman and helps many families, but he's still the same humble and caring person who took care of me when I was a baby. He taught me that we can transform our lives and still help other people transform theirs too. Uncle Michael is my hero because he proved that with hard work, honesty, and the courage to dream, anyone can achieve their goals and still make the world a little better." When Michael Johnson read the essay, he cried like a child. He realized that the greatest success of his life wasn't the awards or the money, but having been a positive example for that child he had helped raise. "Noah, thank you so much for these words," he said, hugging the boy. "It's true, Uncle Michael. You really are my hero. And you're like a son to me, Noah." Jennifer watched the scene, moved. 10 years ago, she was a desperate mother who didn't know how to balance career and motherhood. Today, she was a successful businesswoman, but most of all, she was a fulfilled mother, watching her son grow up with solid values. Her friendship with Michael Johnson had turned into something very special. They were never romantically involved, but they built a life partnership based on mutual respect, absolute trust, and shared goals. Keisha and Jennifer became close friends, and their families spent every holiday together. Junior and Noah were practically brothers and grew up saying they had two families. On the company's 10th anniversary, they threw a huge party. Hundreds of people were present whose lives had been transformed by the work that began with a desperate cry for help. During the celebration, a reporter asked Michael Johnson, "If you could go back in time, would you change anything?" Michael Johnson thought for a moment before answering, "I would change only one thing. I would have had the courage to follow my dreams sooner. But maybe it wasn't the right time. Maybe I needed to go through everything I went through to appreciate the opportunities when they appeared. And what advice would you give to people going through hardships like you did? Never stop helping others, even when you yourselves need help. Sometimes it's precisely by helping that we find our own solution, and never be ashamed of the honest work you do. All work has dignity when it's done with dedication." The reporter turned to Jennifer Davis. "And you, what advice would you give?" "Never judge people by their appearance or profession. Some of the most special people I've met in my life were disguised in ways that I almost didn't recognize them. Open your hearts and minds to the unexpected." The celebration lasted until dawn. When everyone had left, Michael Johnson, Jennifer Davis, and their families remained in the empty hall, reminiscing about the incredible journey they had lived through together. "Can you believe all this started with a desperate cry for help?" asked Jennifer. "I believe it," said Keisha. "God works in mysterious ways." "And He will keep working," said Michael Johnson, "because our mission isn't finished yet." They were right. Caring Hearts continued to grow and impact lives. 15 years later, the organization had become an international reference for social inclusion programs through work. Michael Johnson was invited to speak at the UN about the United States model of integrating immigrants through vocational training. Noah, now with a degree in business administration, joined the organization as Director of International Expansion. Junior chose to follow in his father's footsteps and graduated in education, specializing in intercultural teaching. The story that began with a desperate mother and a compassionate worker had transformed into a family saga of 3 generations united by work, love, and dedication to others. And all because one ordinary morning, 2 people had courage, one to ask for help and another to offer it, not knowing they were planting the seeds of a transformation that would change many lives forever. Today, when Michael Johnson tells his story to new students in the vocational courses, he always ends with the same phrase, "Remember, you never know when a simple act of kindness can change not only your life, but the lives of many others too. Always be ready to help and to be helped. That's how we build a better world." And Noah, now grown up, whenever he listens to his father's speeches from the heart, smiles remembering how it all began, with a crying baby and 2 hearts willing to open themselves to the unexpected. End of story. What a touching story, isn't it? Michael Johnson and Jennifer Davis showed us that when we set prejudice aside and open our hearts, miracles can happen. Now tell us, do you believe Jennifer made the right decision by trusting Michael Johnson? Have you ever been in a similar situation? Leave your honest comment and share your opinion with us. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss other inspiring stories like this one.